Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for yet more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing a list from Tony Scapone, which is his new sort of Painter Storm combo deck. So this deck has two main routes to victory. The first one being Painter Servant Grindstone, which you should be pretty familiar with if you've been watching my channel. I played a whole week of Painter decks. And then the other win condition is Tendrils of Agony, because we have lots of free mana to accelerate out the Painter Servant Grindstone combo. So as well as tutors to find them. So sometimes you can just tutor for an ad nauseum, draw half your deck and tendrils them, or maybe just chain tutors and tendrils them. Either way, this is a win condition in the deck that you can do that is a little bit different and doesn't need you to have a creature on board. So it sort of dodges removal. So sometimes this is going to be good. We also have a potential win condition in Urza's Saga. It's really there for a tutor, but sometimes you can play out your Saga and just make a few tokens with it, just to sort of get a bit of beatdown going. And we have a lot of artifacts, so they can be quite big. And it can distract your opponent, absorb removal for the painter. And, you know, maybe you can get the win with the Urza's Saga. It's certainly possible. Especially since we have the Soul Lands. But it's more of a tutor in this deck. That's pretty much it for the main deck. We've also got, like, Thoughtseize, Duress of our Disruption, because we are mono black. There's no Cabal Rituals here, which would be an interesting one because we're not like Echo of Eonsing, so we might be able to actually get Threshold, but we're kind of trying to go under when that would be a thing that we do. Our tutor split is 4 Infernal, 2 Wishclaw Talisman, which seems fine. We've got these Lion's Eye Diamonds, and it's slightly cheaper to Infernal Tutor, and we want to be cracking diamonds to activate our Grindstones anyway. We've got a couple of Deadly Disputes if you've got some like tapped Grim Monoliths or whatever we want to recycle or bonus Grindstone, so we can get a bit of card advantage that way. And we also have this Brainstone, which is, I see why it's in there. I'm not necessarily convinced by it. It's quite expensive to use, but sometimes your hand does need fixing. But I'm not entirely convinced that this is the thing. I'm probably going to just board out every round because, like, I guess if you're in a sort of a really long grindy matchup, then this can be fine, but your Urza's Sagas are most likely going to be shooting for a win condition or a Lion's Eye Diamond. But I suppose you might shoot for this at some point, but we'll see if that happens. I'm not expecting it to, but it could do. That's it for the main deck. And sideboard-wise, Fatal Push, we need to kill Collector Roof. And some other stuff too, but Collector Roof is the main one. Feed the Swarm, this can kill Collector Roof. It can also hit Leyline of Sanctity, which removes both of our win conditions. There's also some things like, what's it called? The Deafening Silence, which is going to be pretty bad if we're trying to storm. There's probably a few other enchantments we might want to hit along the way. An extra Duress if we need to go up to 8 Duress effects. So I suspect that's probably going to be the card we sideboard in most, because our opponents are we're probably going to play against some stuff where we want Duresses, whether that's like combo decks like Doomsday and the Epic Storm, or if it's going to be like control decks we need to sort of punch a hole through and get going. We've got ourselves 4 Mindbreak Traps because we are probably slower than some of the other Storm decks. But we can play stuff out a little bit better than they can, I suppose. But this is going to be trying to beat the Epic Gamble and the Epic Storm for the most part. And we have Appear into the Abyss, which from watching Brian Cook's channel, I imagine this is to board in when Ad Nauseam is not as good, because paying half your life is a lot less than paying. So if you cast a spell, you win the game. If you cast Ad Nauseam and your life total is low, you can't really do very much with it. So that's probably where that's coming. That's going to be swapping for against like aggressive matchups. We also have an Empty the Warrens in case we need a slightly different win condition. So if we're playing against someone with Leyline Sanctity, we probably need this. I'm a little bit concerned about being able to cast it, and by the time we tutor for it, we can probably get something better anyway, because it's only a one-off. It's not like we're boarding in like 4 Empty the Warrens, so we can convert into Empty the Warrens using our Lotus Petals and Mox Opals just to power out turn 1 from our hand. But we've also got a bunch of Leyline the Void, because graveyard decks can be a bit of a problem for us, I suppose. Especially like a Reanimator deck, they can just come out and then strip our hand with all their discard spells off of a Grizzlebrand. So that makes sense to me too. Yeah, alright, that's pretty much it for the deck. Before we go into the leagues, I just want to say, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to my channel, that'd really help me out. Likes and comments also welcome. but subscribers is the thing that I'm really looking for right now. And it doesn't cost you anything, so why not? You get to see me play some pretty crazy decks like this. Alright, let's jump into a league. We lost the die roll here, and this is our opening hand. So this hand doesn't really do anything. We have an Urza Saga game plan, but we don't really have a lot of artifacts to back it up with. If we had some Chrome Mox or something, maybe we could do that. But as it stands, I think this hand has to go. This hand seems better. We have a turn 3 win off of the Saga, if we play the Saga first. So we're going to keep this. We probably want to keep the Duress here. I don't think we're going to have enough mana to use this Mox Opal. So the Mox Opal probably goes here. Just need to work out the math. So if we play this on 1, we can't play the... Yeah, so we can just play an Urza Saga game for the first couple of turns and then try and get our opponent with the combo. I think that's the best option here. Okay, so we've drawn another one of those. I think we're okay just to play the Saga out. And then next time we play Ancient Tomb and make a guy. And we can make a Mox Opal to pump it up. And make another guy. Tropical Island from our opponent. Into an end of turn into a brainstorm on their turn, sorry. So this could be some sort of Bant Brew, which is more likely than Bug because more people are playing white than black these days because white removal is just better. Misty Rainforest to make the perfect fetch land, the perfect brainstorm, sorry. I can play our Ancient Tomb. So our opponent doesn't really know what our deck is doing apart from this. So we look maybe like an 8-cast deck with a weird draw, or any number of Urza Saga decks, because there's a lot of Urza Saga decks out there because it's sort of a staple of the format now, and for good reason. A Life from Alone. So they don't have a Wasteland. That's good. And another Misty Rainforest. You've got a guy. It'd be remiss of me not to make a guy here. Sure, so they're fetching now because they're worried I could get a Pithing Needle. But we've got more sinister things to tutor here. I think we do get the Grindstone though. And play our land for the turn. Play out this Mox. This Mox taps for black. Let's see what our opponent's working with here. Force of Will. Okay. So we'll Thoughtseize with the second one. Clearly something they want to keep in there. And another Force of Will. Wowzers. This means that their hand has to be some sort of sweeper. I think that's the only reason you would do that in this situation. So that could be a Supreme Verdict or something. And they pitch Hull Breacher and Uro. Okay, so the Hull Breacher was a little bit unexpected. Prismatic Ending on the Grindstone. Sure, they really want to lose to the Grindstone, but they might just lose to the Construct tokens. Mystic Sanctuary. Getting that back. Sure. Not ideal for us. Dak Faden. Gain control of target artifact, you say. Okay, our opponent's on a bit of a brew here. Their one will be a lot smaller than ours, though. See how we do here. This Infernal Tutor is going to be good soon. I think we play out this Grim Monolith, though. Make our guy a little bit bigger. It's a case of if you want to Grim Monolith now or not. I think we're always casting the Duress here. So they just have this. So they just have the Prismatic Ending in hand. So this gives us 2 mana. This gives us 4 mana. So this gives us this and tutor for this. So if we draw a land next turn, we can kill them. Interesting. I think we have to kill the Dak Faden here. I don't think we want to Grim Monolith this turn because we know our opponent has a Prismatic Ending in hand. They're kind of priced into using it on our Construct token, I think, because that's the one card they have. They can always draw and discard some cards, but they have just a Flooded Strand. Okay, yeah. So we got the Flooded Strand at the hand. Now they might choose to draw and discard here. Yeah. So if they discard the Flooded Strand, they will have one potential business spell in hand. Okay, so kept the Flooded Strand. So if we draw a land, I think we are golden here. A Grim Monolith, that's kind of like a land, isn't it? Let's tap this. Cast it. And then tap this for 3 mana. Cast this guy. And we'll name black. And then add black. Cast this. We are hellbent, so we can go and get ourselves a grindstone. Oh, is it? There it is. Oh, it looks different because it's all black. We cast this. And we activate this. And we get the win. Cool. Let's go on to sideboarding. So our opponent is a control-y deck. So the duress is going to be good. They are playing, like, presumably wastelands to go with their Luna and the Void, but I don't think we're really into that sort of length of game. They haven't really seen the Storm side of our deck, so we could definitely get some value that way. I think it's hard to know if we actually want the Empty the Warrens here. I think we probably do though, which means we've got to cut some stuff. The Brainstone is going to be good in a longer game as a general rule. So what are we cutting here? We can trim on some of this combo. I don't really want anything that our opponent can steal with a Dak Faden, since we know they have that. There is no Pithing Needle in this deck, which is important to note as well. I think we probably trim a Brainstone, and it's one of our combo pieces. Probably, it's hard to say which is the better one to bin off here, because we do have tutors for this here. So maybe it's the Painter's Servant, and this is also a cheaper artifact for Deadly Dispute. So I think we trim like this, or we could keep this in and just trim on a Mox. Actually, that seems better to me. Let's submit. Let's have a look. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana if we want it. So 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we can't kill them on turn 1 with his hand. We're definitely keeping his hand though. Maybe a basic swamp would be quite a nice draw. A Chromox. That's not really the one we wanted, was it? I don't really want to throw the duress away. So we play this out. This taps for 2, gives us this. This is an artifact. We can play this and then duress as well. I don't like exposing our grindstone here, but we are duressing our opponent this turn, so I think that's okay. Let's play this out. Play this out. Cast this Titan on our opponent. We could have played the Wishclaw out here, but I think the duress is going to get us a bit more. Okay, so the Dak Faden is a little bit scary here. The Source Plowshares can mess with our Painter. So I think if we take the Plow here, and next turn we can go off, right? So there's Mystery Rainforest. I think we are okay. Like, they have 1 mystery card in hand. Okay. Tap this. Tap this for black. And we'll play out this Mox Opal. And keep this one. So we have 5 mana here, which is the right amount of mana that we need. So if we tap this for black. Oh, yes, nearly messed up. You need to always tap your Mox Opals first. Let's remove a wish counter. Wait, have I done this wrong? Alright, something happened to my computer and we missed recording some of this. It cut out and I think it's corrupted the video, but I'm going to carry on recording. So we are in game 2 now with this deck, and we just punted quite horribly actually, but we're in game 2 of round 1, and we took the first game quite easily, and I made a slight mistake with my mana calculations, and now I'm quite far behind in this game. So this is probably going to be the Dak Fade, and they're going to steal our Grindstone. Yeah, so that makes it harder for them to die to anything we top deck here. City of Traitors, not particularly exciting. So we cast this in case we draw a... in case we draw the Grindstone next turn, we'll have enough mana to go off. So we could still win this game, but our opponent's going to be able to tutor for something if they need it off of the Wish Claw. Although if they give us the Wish Claw back, then we get the last wish off of it. So the Uro and the Terminus are gone. So we don't know any of the cards in our opponent's hand. We are very much unfavoured. Another Dak Faden. Okay, they're going to kill us with our own combo. Sure. Alright. So I think the sideboarding there was fine. Yeah, I think we just resubmit and just play smarter and better. Like, I think we win that game if we play a little bit smarter. So what does this hand do? This makes this guy on turn 1. Turn 2. Wait, no, it makes this guy on turn 1. And turn 2 we kill. Then we keep this. Question is, do we play everything out now? Because if we play this guy out and they have a Source of Plowshares, we just lose. Well, we don't lose, but we'll be getting rid of our Storm spell as well. Decision point. Do we think our opponent has a Source of Plowshares in hand right now? So it's a bit of an all-in hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have Storm. We can get Storm going pretty well if we want to try a Storm kill. I guess we don't have to rush here, right? Our opponent is a slow control deck. They do have Dak Fadens, so playing to the board is less good. So I think we just pass the turn. Maybe try and draw some disruption and a bit more mana. Obviously, as the game goes on, our opponent sculpts their hand. That'll be bad for us. Okay, a Thoughtseize. This is what we want. Fire off now and see what we're working with. Force of Will, Meltdown, Uro. They have a Besage as well. This is tricky. Right, it's definitely not the Uro, obviously, but if we hit the Force of Will, it means we can just try and go off on our turn with a bit more time. So I think I quite like that. We can try and do it all in one turn if we can get a little bit more mana underneath us. Okay, Misty Rainforest from our opponent, sure. So they're holding up the Besage, which they might have to play soon. An Urza's Saga. This can be got by the Besage. But either way, it will give us more mana. We don't want to cast our painter into the Meltdown, so we just pass a turn here. If they just hold up for the Besage all the time, that's not really going to do them a lot of favours, I don't think. We will play out this Grim Monolith this turn, I think. Right? Do we just hold it and try and storm them next turn? We don't really have... How much mana do we have? So we can do this. We can do an Ad Nauseam next turn. That seems alright. Well, no, we can't Ad Nauseam because we'd have to imprint this, so we can't storm, so we can't get it. So we might have to put up Painter, but we need to be a non-artifact to imprint. I think we are supposed to play the Grim Monolith here. And if this baits out a Meltdown, that's good for us. If it doesn't, then we have 3 more mana on our turn. And we get to do all the things we need to do. Okay, so the Grave as well. An Uro. Okay, so there's the Groves. So they're still holding up Besage now. A Grindstone. So we're going to float mana off of this. And then we're going to get a Grindstone. Is there a way that we can... So we can play out the Painters here. So this is 1, 2... So we've got Storm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14. So we can force them into hitting our Painters and trying to combo off with the... actually, no, I think we're fine here, right? We play out a Lion's Eye Diamond. And we play out another Lion's Eye Diamond. And we tap this for mana. Play this out. Now, if the Besage is the only thing they have, then they might Besage you our Grindstone here. So is there a way that we can get more mana here? So we can... I think we can Thoughtseize them here, right? Not sure. Yeah, actually no. What we should do is we should play this out. And then we have 2 Grindstones. So we have 2 activations. So we can activate and activate in response to the Besage. That makes sense. So we get triple black and mill our opponent. 1, 2, 3. And so Besage you, we milled it with the other Grindstone. Ah, that's a misplay there. I should have done it in response to the crack, just in case they have Force of Vigor as well. Seems unlikely that a deck would have Force of Vigor, but it's not impossible. Okay, we got the match. Yeah, I should have cracked the second Grindstone in response to the Misty Rainforest, because we know they had the Besage in hand and we would have been able to win that. All right, so we missed the coverage of the first game, which I played really well in. And then you got the second game, you got a bit of that where I didn't play very well in, and the third game I played okay in. All right, on to the second round. So our hand has all the mana in the world, but nothing to do with it. Mulligan. No, I don't think we can keep this one. We have some tutor pieces, but we don't really have the mana to spend them. Like, if we had a swamp in this hand, then I'd probably keep it. But I think we have to mulligan here. I think this was one we can keep. So the question is what we put back. I think we get rid of an Urborg. I kind of like the combination of these 2 cards, which means we're probably having to pitch either the City or the Saga. It can't be the Saga because this finds us one of our pieces, so it probably has to be the City here. Underground Sea. This suggests something like Doomsday. Does this change our maths this turn? I don't think it does. We can play this out and play out the Brainstone this turn. The idea being that when this goes to 3, you want to be able to pop it and go get our win condition. So this is probably just going to get sacrificed to the Deadly Dispute when the time comes. Okay, Cycled Street Wraith. Our opponent could be Death Shadow. They could be Doomsday. Those are basically the 2 Underground Sea decks that are most prevalent, I would say. The Epic Storm does have Underground Sea, but it wouldn't just play an Underground Sea and pass most of the time. Scalding Tarn. This would hopefully give us some information, because they'll fetch a shock. Okay, yeah, so they are Death Shadow. Been a real uptick in Death Shadow decks recently. It's interesting. Hymn to Turak. Yikes. Okay. They're closer to being Hellbent, I guess. So there is that. So we're kind of fishing for mana now, because we lost our swamp. So we can't do our Dark Ritual. It would have been better off for us if we'd have lost the Dark Ritual rather than the swamp, I think. If we get hit by another hymn, I think we're in trouble. A Ponder, sure. They did not shuffle their library, which is bad for us. I would assume that this is one of the worst matchups of deck, because they're full of disruption and they can put down a fast clock. both of those things are pretty bad for us. Let's see what we draw. A Grim Monolith. So I think we're in the do we have to? I think we have to Brainstone here. Is that right? We have to go and get a mana source to use our Brainstone. We could play the Chrome Mox and imprint it, or we could play a Dark Ritual that gives us 3 mana. So we could get Lotus Petal, cast Dark Ritual. So that will take us up to 4 mana. We can cast Grim Monolith, which takes us down a little bit more. I think maybe we're supposed to play for the Storm and hope that our opponent reduces their life total to make our lives easier. I think that's what we're meant to do here. Which means we're probably getting a Lotus Petal here. And I don't think we can commit this Grim Monolith this turn. I think we're in a lot of trouble here. That hymn was pretty good. Yeah, I think our plan is almost tempted to... Okay, let's let them hit our hand, because I haven't seen the painter stuff yet. So they can see the Storm half of our deck. If they take the Tendrils, though, we can't win via Storm. They'll probably take the Dark Ritual because of how sort of set back on mana we are. That would be the correct pick, in my opinion. Okay, they took the Infernal Tutor. Death Shadow. Just a 2/2. But now they know not to lower their life total too much, because I can... If I get another black source, I can do a little Tendrils for 6. Tendrils for 6. But our opponent knows when they need to shut down what we're doing. So I think the chances of us winning this game are very slim. Okay, so playing into it, we might be able to get a bit of work done. They have to be able to interact with us. What do we have? A Chrome Mox. Like, we have to play the hand we've been dealt here. Have a counterspell for this? Like, this is lethal. They can counterspell one of them. But we have mana for days if that's what their counterspell is. They might just have Stubborn Denial and counter one of them. Okay, so have a Force of Will. So we put our opponent to 1. Which is sadly not lethal. So then we are dead. Right, let's go to game 2. I think we want the empties. Like big guys, especially if they're on the Gurmag Anger plan, are pretty good. Piers probably better than the Ad Nauseam here. Is that true? I'm not sure. The Fatal Pushes are reasonable here. The Duress is also reasonable here. So I think we're trimming a Chrome Mox. So that gives us... That gives the empty and probably a Duress. And then it's a case of, do we want any of these things? I think the Brainstone can go in favour of... Is it Peer or is it a Fatal Push? To buy us some time. I think we can't really afford to worry about what our opponent's doing with their creatures here. This is a very slow hand. I think we can do better. It's a very similar looking hand, isn't it? Should we keep this one? I think we'll keep it on the back of the discard spells here. We'll throw back this tutor. Maybe we should have thrown back the Mox, I don't know. Alright, so I think the first one should be a Thoughtseize. Just in case they are running the Delver, I'd like to have the option of undercutting their threats. So the Hymn to Turak does not look like a thing that I want to mess around with here. Now the question here is, do we want to... No, we don't want a Chrome Mox here. Our opponents shouldn't have any removal in their deck, so our Painted Servant should be good. But we will have to have the mana to stick it. Okay, there's Watery Grave that we knew about. A Dark Ritual. So they can Daze and Stubborn Denial, something that we do here. I think we should just Duress them. And try and snipe this Brainstorm out of them. They could Daze here, though. They could cast their Stubborn Denial here. Okay, they're casting their Brainstorm in response. Interesting. What are they wanting to hide? Maybe the Stubborn Denial? Oh, they kind of have redundant. Like, we have a decent amount of redundancy here. Okay, so there's the days going. We'll not pay for the days. Sure. That was one of the things we were going to take anyway. We do lose some information, but it's not the end of the world. So we know our opponent has at least one of these cards. Or at least, sorry, at least two of these cards. So they're probably going to shuffle with his ponder to get rid of the one card they didn't want, maybe. We chose not to shuffle their library. It's not ideal for us. Okay, so have a swamp. So we can... Dark Ritual takes us to 3/4 mana, which can be Painter Servant, Infernal Tutor. Is that good enough? Is that good enough? That still leaves us needing mana on the following turn. I think we just play out this Painter Servant. Our opponent's deck shouldn't have removal in. We've already seen 1 days. Okay, so there's a force. And Stubborn Denial was exiled to it. Okay. Sure. So we've been set back a little bit. This is always going to be a real uphill slog trying to beat this particular deck. So we're now looking for a Peer into the Abyss line, I think. We did board out our Ad Nauseam, didn't we? Which would actually be quite good in this situation. There it is. Yeah, so we need to hit 7 mana now, which is a big ask. Well, 9 mana if we want to cast a tutor for it. I thought so. So we're going to lose our Infernal Tutor here. So, yeah. Discard plus counter spells is pretty hard for us to surmount, to be honest. I think we're incentivized to play this out because our opponent can't interact with artifacts. And this just gives us more mana for a potential Peer into the Abyss if we draw it. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we draw a Peer into the Abyss, we can actually cast it now. Now there is a singleton in our deck, so it's not the most likely. This Wasteland doesn't do anything, which is nice. Big fan of that. Hymn to Turak. That certainly does do something. Yeah, I don't think we're ever beating this this selection of cards here. Again, because our opponent interacts with our hand and not artifacts on the board, we just have to play these things out. It's tough out there today. Jack Faden stealing my grindstones. Lots of Hymn to Turax. Okay, we'll play this out. So we have all the mana in the world. We just need something to do with it. A Brazen Borrower. So our opponent now has a clock. This is a 6-turn clock, but if they can hit themselves for any more damage, they can deploy some Death Shadows they may or may not still have in their hand. A Mox Opal. I think we keep this one in hand, just to try and bait something out of our opponent, perhaps. Because mana is 3, 4, 5, 6. So still a little shy. Unless we draw the Infernal Tutor. But we have to get through whatever's in our opponent's hand. A Dark Ritual. So mana is certainly not an issue. We're keeping these in hand now in case we need to do a Desperation Tendrils of Agony that we draw. Which is increasingly looking like a thing we might end up doing. Let's take 3 more off this. This puts us to 9. There's 3 turns left. So Peer into the Abyss lines are rapidly becoming a thing we can't do anymore. We'll play this one out. Why did I play that out? I should have kept that in hand. So what are our lines now? So this will put us to 6. So we can't cast Peer into the Abyss unless we... Well, we can if we expect to win off of it. So if we can have a little bit of mana floating, which we should be able to if we can resolve it, then yes. But I don't think we're going to be able to resolve it through our opponent who hasn't played anything in their deck full of counter spells and discard. Urborg. Okay, so play this one out. This might help our opponent a little bit. It'll give them a Wasteland target, I suppose. Maybe didn't need to do that. But if they Wasteland this, then they can't hardcast a Force of Will. And mana is not the problem right now. The problem is we don't have any action. We got 1 more turn. All we have to do is get through six cards in our opponent's hand with nothing. Sure, we are done. Yeah, that matchup feels very, very hard. Like Thoughtseize into Daze, Stubborn Denial, Force of Will, him to Turak. Like, because we're not playing like a massive refuel in terms of Echo Vions or something like that, it's very difficult for us to break through that. All right, on to round 3. So what does this hand actually do? It's close. We get to do this, so we can make a turn 1 Wish Claw. But then we're kind of out of mana. This is so close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. I think we keep this and just try and draw into land. We don't play anything out turn 1. So that's 1 mana for this, 2, 3 for this, 4, 5 for Painter, 5, 6, 7, 8 for this. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. Okay, so we're 2 mana shy. But if we get some permanent mana, we can do some other stuff. Okay, our opponent looks like they're on Doomsday, because that's the place where you're most likely to see a Preordain. So we are up against it a little bit here. But we can do a Grindstone play if we need to. So I think we play out a bunch of stuff here, because this will let us cast the Wishclaw Talisman off of the Mox Opal here, which might get a counter spell. Might force some resources out of our opponent's hand. I think we stop there. Now our opponent could just kill us on this turn, which would be far from ideal. A Preordain, okay. That means the chances of us starting this turn are very slim. Underground Sea and a Ponder. So our opponent has sculpted their hand a great deal. I quite like some sort of duress effect to poke a hole in it right now. Next time we have 3 mana from this, 6, 7 mana. And then we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're still slightly shy. Thoughtseize is definitely one of the things I was wanting to draw here. So let's fire this off and see what the lay of the land is. Force of Will on that. Interesting. So if we sacrifice this for black source, what does that do for us? And this kind of gets us where we are now. So we can play out the Grim Monolith now, and then next turn we can if we do this, we can get Ancient Tomb. That gives us 1, 2, 3 mana. So we can play Grim Monolith, which will give us 3, 4 mana. So we can then play this and this, cracking the LED. So that'd be 4, 3, 2, 1, and then go up to 4 again. So we'll be 1 mana shy if we do that. So next turn we can do all of that in one go, which sounds better to me. If we burn the Lotus Petal this turn, we just have 3 mana for next turn. So we have more than enough mana if we do this. So I think this is the right play. Now they could counterspell this, which would be very annoying. But they've already used a Force of Will. Okay, what do they pitch to it? A Personal Tutor. Which means they probably already have access to Doomsday, which would be a reason why they would duress us there. Oh, not duress us, Force of Will us. Okay, so this is Thoughtseize. Oh, sure. So they can take one of these things. It just means we have to tutor twice next turn if they take the Grindstone. If they take the Infernal Tutor, we use the Wishclaw to get the Painter. Wait, last turn could we have used mana off it? No, because we were doing the maths with the Ancient Tomb, weren't we? Yeah. So you can kill our opponent here, provided they don't have any interaction with us. So they've already had Thoughtseize and Force of Will. Is it getting any better? That's a relatively important question. I think we're going with this. We get ourselves a Painter's Servant. And we cast the Painter's Servant. A Brainstorm from our opponent. Okay, that suggests to me they don't have the immediate answer in hand. I've certainly given them the ability to Doomsday on their following turn. I think we're in black just in case they have any removal that hits any non-black creatures. It's unlikely, but play this out. A daze. So we'll play black. I tend not to run removal main deck as a general rule. They had another daze. I think we have to pay here. Leaves us one shy, unfortunately. And our opponent has a Wishclaw Talisman, which is not the best for us. But our opponent feels like they should be on lower resources, right? They've bounced 2 lands to their hand to do that. So the chances of them having a Doomsday line that wins this turn are very low. So they might just have to get an answer for what we've got on board. Now, what we've got on board is a need to draw a mana source in order to activate the Grindstone. Fortunately, our deck is a lot of mana sources, so I don't think that'll be an issue, but we'll probably draw, who knows what we'll draw. So if we draw a tutor, we can go and get, well, if we draw the Infernal Tutor, we can go and get Lion's Eye Diamond to activate the Grind. So we've got options. A Dark Ritual, okay. Doomsday. Okay, finish making their pile. Let's have a little look and see if they've got anything unusual in there. Or it looks funny because of Painter's Servant. This looks pretty standard to me. Mana Source. A Duress. Like, we're not casting it, right? So Thassa's Oracle is already in hand. We go to attacks. Let's keep examining this. So they can Edge of Autumn, kill me this turn. Yeah, it looks like what's happening. We missed on a land. If we hit a land that turn, we win the game. Yep. We can just concede here. That's a little bit frustrating. I felt like we were close on that one. So the Duress here is going to be good. The rest of our deck looks less good. The Empty the Warrens here is fine. If we can put down a bunch of pressure, it makes their Doomsday piles very difficult. So I think we're probably like trimming Brainstone and a Chrome Mox just to add these 2. And I think that's probably all we need. Like, Mindbreak Trap can be relevant against them, but very rarely. It's an easy thing for them to play around most of the time. I think we just keep like this and just try and disrupt their hand. Alright, so our opening hand doesn't really get us anywhere. I think we have to mulligan this. Double Duress is nice, but we're desperately going to be seeking some more action. I think we have to mulligan again. Yikes. We definitely can't keep this. We need some mana. Okay, this is the best one so far, so we will keep this. So this is 1/2 mana, 3, 4, 5. So what are we putting back here? Put back 3 cards is the problem here. Probably has to be the Dark Ritual here. Like, our hand does one thing, right? So come hell or high water, we're doing it. Now, we could just be dead, but we're presenting a potential turn 2. This turn, I think we stay in green. Do play out the Lotus Petal this turn. They're a blue-black deck, so they're unlikely to be able to disrupt a Lotus Petal. Alright, so we need a mana off the top. Again, our deck is full of mana, so we're a little bit all in, but that's the nature of our deck for a lot of it. So if our opponent ponders here or something, then they're more likely to find disruption. Personal tutor. Okay, so they're going for it. Let's see what we have. We found a mana source. Do you have a force of will? Sometimes they won't have it. Sometimes they will. What situation is this going to be? A daze. Ah, we're doing this old chestnut again, aren't we? So this buys them a turn. So next turn we have the kill, but they might have... It's very difficult for them to kill us unless they have a Lotus Petal. Sure, Doomsday. If they have Lotus Petal Brainstorm in hand, then they can probably kill us. Or if they have a Lion's Eye Diamond and a Cycler in hand. Where is the Lion's Eye Diamond? Can't see the Lion's Eye Diamond, which worries me a little bit. Street Wraith, okay. A Lotus Petal, sure. Does our opponent have the nuts here? Feels like if they assemble their pile this way. There's the Lion's Eye Diamond. So if they've got another Cycler, they cycle, crack this in response, cast the Thassa's Oracle. So if our Lotus Petal that we drew that turn was an Ancient Tomb, then we win that one. But alas. Yep. We mulliganed pretty hard there, but Doomsday is the best combo deck in the format, so it's gonna be a tough matchup. It's a bit upsetting getting paired against all these blue-black decks which have maximum disruption for us, but sometimes that's the way of things. Let's go into the 4th round, I think. This is our opening hand. It allows us to play a Niza Saga game, which I don't hate, and then we can maybe pivot into a Tendrils kill to finish them off. That seems fine to me. A Savannah. Okay, our opponent's going to be making 2020s at some point. That's not really where we want to be. That certainly helps with our plan there. Okay. So if at any point we draw a Painted Servant, we can kill them out of relatively nowhere. Sure, I'll take one of your finest Sylvan Safekeeper damage, please. Love seeing this little guy turning sideways. Outland Liberator. That's not the best. Okay, so we have to play out Lotus Petal to stop this from flipping this turn, I think. Oh, okay. We can just kill them now, right? Is that right? So this gives us 2 mana. 2, 3, 4, 5 mana to cast. Yeah. I think we have the kill here. Let's play this out. We're dead to Solitude, I think. Touch for 2. Cast this. Cast this. We got black on this, haven't we? Black. Hold control when we cast this. Sacrifice this for triple black. Get a Painted Servant. Cast Painted Servant. Have I done the right maths here? I have. I've done the exact right maths. Don't want to name green. Name blue. And we'll grindstone our opponent with our mana. Now our opponent could have an Endurance here, which would really suck, but they didn't, so that didn't suck. Cool. This is a matchup where we definitely need Fatal Pushes, because our opponent is probably going to be boarding in Collector Roofs, which is going to be really hard for us to beat. We're also going to need these Feed the Swarms, I imagine, for similar reasons. Empty the Warrens has text here, could be useful. These dresses are going to be bad because most of the stuff is creature related. So this requires us finding 2 more cuts. So we can cut Brainstone and a Chrome Mox. And maybe try and go for empty. This seems alright to us here. They're not the fastest of clocks. They kind of just clock you or they don't clock you. So I think our Nauseam is still fine over the Appearance of the Abyss here. So this opening hand, what does it give us? Double Lion's Eye Diamond is quite nice. We need another card here, because we can play both of these out. Yeah, I think we keep this one. It doesn't need a lot to be good. So we also have the opportunity to maybe ad nauseam here. Okay, so that's a wasteland. Understood. A Mox Opal. What does that do for us? This gives us 1, 2 mana to cast this. We need a third mana. No. Yeah, 1, 2 to cast this. So we need another black mana if we want to do this. So we probably just play out one of our cards here. I don't think a single Mox Opal is going to be getting any Force of Vigors anytime soon. Force of Vigor is a thing that maybe we wanted to rest us in for as well, actually. Think about it. We might just be able to storm kill them with this hand. A Windswept Teeth, sure. No play. Okay, so we have an Urborg now. So we can go 1, 2. We still need a black card to imprint into our Mox Opal. Into our Chrome Mox, sorry. So we play this out. They might wasteland it in response. They did not wasteland it in response to the trigger. I think I'm going to play out this Grindstone now. So I can play out... No, I don't need to play out anything else here. I think we pass the turn. We're slightly baiting our opponent's wasteland here. We'd rather keep the black mana, I think, at this point. I think we might be better off doing the Storm Kill to dodge through the Force of Vigor and Endurance they're definitely going to have. So this is going to be a Collector Roof. So this is going to be bad for us. Yep, there it is. We need one of the 4 things we boarded in for it. We're going to get that? We're going to draw it? Oh, they're thinking about hitting us with a Force of Vigor, it feels like. They've paused. Sure. That sets us back a little bit. A Fatal Push, though. That is one of the ones we wanted. But we don't have enough mana for this, right? So we need another black card to imprint with Chrome Mox at a minimum. So I think we just have to pass. Because we can't expose our Urborg to a wasteland. We can play out singular Lion's Eye Diamonds. It does risk getting hurt by another Force of Vigor. But our opponent's only got 2 cards in hand, so I feel okay here. So this is another mana we have here. So we can go 1, 2, kill this, and we still don't have anything to imprint to this. So I think we're just going to play out one of these. We've got a reasonable amount of time right now. Our opponent could kill us this turn if they have a crop rotation, right? They did not have a crop rotation. That's good news. We're just going to take some beats off this guy. If our opponent doesn't commit anything else to the board, it's going to give me the impression they have an Endurance in hand. Okay, Savannah. Infernal Tutor. Okay, so I think we are ready to roll here. So I think step 1 is Urborg. And then we have to target this. Interesting timing on that. Alright, so then we'll play out this Lotus Petal. We'll play out this Chrome Mox. We'll imprint an Infernal Tutor. So I think now we're incentivized to, obviously we're playing this out. I think we want to ad nauseam this turn because that plays around Force of Vigor and Endurance. So we're going to hold control here. Black. Black. We're going to crack this. We're going to cast this, sorry. Crack this for black. There is an argument for hitting this one for red rather than black, but I think we just go black and black here. Now, my opponent's got Mind Break traps. Oh my god, they had a Mind Break trap. Ugh. That's pretty gross. Okay, I was not expecting Mind Break traps. We're going to want Duresses in then, I guess. Yikes. Do we play out the Lotus Petal now, or do we keep it in hand? I think we probably keep it in hand. for now. Mindbreak Trap, Force of Vigor, and Collector Reef. There's a lot to play through. Okay, so they are wishing for more Wastelands, which is a little bit mean. But Painter's Servant and Lion's Eye Diamond wins us the game. We have burned 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds here. An Ancient Tomb. That's not the one, is it? Let's go. Okay, so they are making a 20/20 this turn. Cool. Yep, sometimes your opponent's going to have all their hate cards. Like we were trying to play around Force of Vigor, Endurance there. We could have sequenced things. I guess we probably don't sequence them too much differently. Maybe we can, if we're directly trying to play around Mindbreak Trap, then we can definitely do things differently. Okay, that's a little bit annoying. So we do need our duresses. Bit of a yikes there. I guess we bin off these Chrome Oxes to help fit in these duresses. And so we're currently fitting 2 of these in. Can we squeeze anything else out here? Don't really know if we can. Can't have any of these things. If they have a Tabernacle in their deck, then the empty is going to be bad. I think they probably will have a Tabernacle. Deadly Dispute. Is Deadly Dispute good enough here? Maybe we just need the duress. Alright. What does this hand do? We have 1, 2, 3. So we have the answer for the oof, but we're pretty bad against a bunch of other stuff. We can make turn 1 Wishclaw Talisman, but it takes us off of a lot of things. But we do have double tutors. I think we can do better. That would constitute better, wouldn't it? So this is 2 mana. So this is 5 mana. So we can play out this and this and be 1 mana short. We get to strip our opponent's hand if we want to. I think we probably throw this one back. Say done here. I think we play stuff out on turn 1 with this Dark Ritual into Thoughtseize. Mindbreak Trap. Interesting. Play this guy out. On him play. So we can play out our Tomb and our Grindstone. That way if we hit a basic land, if we hit a single mana source, we can kill them next turn. But it exposes us to Wasteland. And potentially Force of Vigor. Like getting both halves of our combo. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough one. I think we should pass here. Oh, they've got 4 Wastelands in their deck. I don't know how many Force of Vigors they have. Could be 4 as well. So I think playing around both of those is probably the best we can do. Again, this matchup feels like our opponent's got a lot of tools for us. They just got the natural Collector Reef. A Prismatic Ending. Sure. Yikes, we can't catch a break today. Okay. Sylvan Safekeeper. Starting to think the problem with this deck is that the sideboard cards are too good against us. We'll play one of these out for the purposes of needing to Fatal Push at instant speed, as well as having a bit of a play around Mindbreak Trap, which is apparently the thing we have to play around. Okay, so if they have a crop rotation, we die this turn. That doesn't do it. Have you got crop rotation? Feels like they might have a crop rotation. Either that or they've got an endurance and they want to hold up mana while they do it. Okay, it's interesting. I could have killed the Dried Arbor in response there, but I don't think that's necessary. A swamp. That's one I like. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we might be able to Ad Nauseam next turn. I think the reason they made this dried arbor actually is because of the Sylvan Safekeeper. That makes sense. A bit slow on the uptake there. Apologies. Right, so to put us, so we have to be doing an ad nauseum from 14. Okay, we're gonna have to wait a turn for this ad nauseum, I think, which means we're gonna be doing it from 11, which is not great. Sylvan Library, sure, that's fine. That's not a problem until next turn. We can. Oh, we're going to have to use our Ancient Tomb here, aren't we? We can try and Fatal Push this now, but I don't think the 1 damage is going to make a difference. And if they second main phase a Collector Reef and just get us, then we'll feel real bad. Alright, we have a game plan. That's a pretty good game plan. Let's cast Ad Nauseam. A hard cast Mindbreak Trap. We just cannot catch a break today, I guess. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to play the Grindstone out in case we draw Paint to next turn. Then we have enough mana to kill them. Because I suspect we don't have many turns left in this game. Double Mindbreak Trap hand against the Storm deck is... It's not good for us. We do have them in our sideboard, which is a bit mean ourselves, but okay. There's neither Reliquary. Neither Reliquary. Okay, so we have a free roll this turn if we draw the thing. A Mox Opal. I guess we play that out. So this is lethal. So what we have to do here is try and Fatal Push it and hope our opponent makes a mistake. That's the level we're at now. And we have to crack this for the black mana so that we have Revolt. Please make a mistake. Give us another draw step, please. They did not make a mistake. Sure. So our opponent really had it all that turn. So the previous game they had like the Mindbreak Traps, the Oof, and the Force of Vigor. This time they had double Mindbreak Trap. And then they just hard cast it. So I played around it not being hard castable, but oh well. Right, I guess we're in the final round looking for the scraps of 50 points. This is a weird hand. We have a lot of mana, but we don't have... We need a second black mana. I think we can keep it and find one here, right? We have a lot of live draws. Joe Fisher. I think I've played against this player before. I can't remember what they played. Something with basic lands, I guess. A basic swamp. That was not what I was expecting to come out of a Prismatic Vista. Aetherfire. Was this like some sort of humans build, maybe? Okay, so mana is not the problem here. Good to know. Hammer's Grim Monolith. So if we can get a second black pip, we can do a big ad nauseum if we need to. If we draw a Painted Servant, we can win the game. So we've got some decent draws. But our opponent with black mana is likely to have discard effects. So they're a tribal deck, I would imagine, if they're playing Mutavault. Bitter Blossom. Alright. Still don't really know what our opponent's doing. A Duress. If we had a repeatable black source, then I'd be able to do something about that. I don't think there's any point playing anything out this turn. Then we just let them get a Bitter Blossom. Are they playing fairies with Ether Vial? That's pretty wild. Could be. If we see a blue source, then we'll get a bit of better indication. Could be rogues. Just mono Bitter Blossom, I guess. It's making it a lot easier to hit them with the tendrils. Let's see what we have here. A Chrome Mox. This does give us a second black source. Let's cast this. Okay, we're playing Lion's Eye Diamonds and stuff out. Let's see if this is good enough. Another Lion's Eye Diamond. Cast this guy. They might counter this if they have counter spells. Is this going to be Spellstart Sprite? It is a Spellstart Sprite. Oakley dokley. That's fine by me. It's whole priority. There's no way we can do this without tapping on monolith, so we just tap the monolith now. Black. Black, holding priority. Casting this. Crack this for black. You got Force of Will as well in those 3 cards in your hand? You're not. I would like to repeat this process, please. Yep. Keep it coming. Rainstone. Ritual. Wishclaw Talisman. Deadly Dispute. Kind of need some starting mana. Okay, Mox Opal's starting mana. 8. So they got 2 damage. They got 4 damage coming in, so we can't really go lower than that. What does this do? Kind of need another bit of mana, I think. Let's keep going. These ones at the end. A Grindstone. So we've got this mana here. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we've got loads of floating, so we don't need to repeat this anymore. Okay, so we can cast this. We can dress our opponent. Okay, so it's free for us to keep going here. I feel like we successfully navigate this one. So we hold priority, cast this. We sacrifice this for mana. Then we let this resolve. Go and get ourselves a Painted Servant. Well, we can go and get 10 Words of Agony, I guess. Let's get a Storm Kill on the board, shall we? Cool. Alright, we got 10 Words of Agony kill going. We got close to one earlier. We were 1 point off before. Alright. Fairies. Fairies, you say that's an interesting one. Like Duress, they're going to have some sort of thing that we need to hit out of their hand. Their clock's probably not going to be the strongest. They're going for more disruption. Why do we keep fighting all these blue-black disruption heavy decks? It's not where we want to be. How good is Empty the Warrens going to be against a Bitter Blossom deck? Probably not very good, right? But maybe it'll be okay. I don't know. This Empty hasn't felt like it's been doing an awful lot to me. So I think we can get rid of Brainstone here. Trim on Mox. Because they're the weakest. 3 more cards to go. I don't know. I feel I'm probably not sideboarding optimally here. I think we can happily ad nauseum against this opponent though. Cut one of those. I don't think we need all these Feed the Swarms. Probably trim a Deadly Dispute. Let's try that. Our opponent could have something like a Null Rod in their deck, which I don't know how we beat. We just have to discard out of their hand first. But it feels like if there's a deck with a Null Rod, this is probably going to be it. So this hand doesn't really go anywhere, so I think we're going to mulligan it. This hand seems alright. Then we can keep this. Let me put back the Tendrils here. We can get a bit more mana to put something like this into play on turn 1. That'd be great. Basic Island. Ponder? Just an Ether Vial, sure. A Grim Monolith. 3, 4, 5 mana. Sorry, 3, 4 mana, because there's only +1, isn't it? Well, we're definitely playing out a Swamp. I think we probably play the Grim Monolith out this turn. Alright. So next turn we have 6 mana available to us. So we can play out Servant, Wishclaw, and then Tutor. Obviously it depends what we draw. It might be something that makes it so we can't do that. And then we can possibly on turn after use our Wishclaw to go and get a Lion's Eye Diamond to pop. But if we draw a Lion's Eye Diamond now, then we can kind of get around that. But we need some sort of disruption, I think, to win this game. Ooh, okay. Let's try this out. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. Wishclaw Talisman. Painted Servant. Okay. Well, we've got the kill if they didn't have anything here. Oh, that looks weird where it's all red. So we're looking for a grindstone here, aren't we? Got the grindstone? Just go get a Lion's Eye Diamond. Like, if they've let us get this far, I have to assume they don't have anything. Lion's Eye Diamond? They can have removal and they might be waiting on us to have our Painter Servant exposed, so we've basically got the least amount of resources. Alright. Well, our opponent in the last round said that our deck was well built, so that was nice. Let's have a look at the deck. So we only got the 50 play points off it, so not great. We did get proper sold down the river by the Green-White Depths player with their incredibly good sideboard cards. Like, we absolutely thrashed them game one, and then the sideboard cards they had were just too much for us to overcome. Like, double Mindbreak Trap, and then Mindbreak Trap, Force of Vigor, Collector Reef. We managed to play through 2 of those hate pieces, but couldn't quite get there. So that was a bit annoying. Like, the hate pieces do feel very strong against this deck. Like, Storm decks have always been pretty cold to Mindbreak Trap, which is why we've got some on the board, I suppose. Because things like Veil of Summer don't interact with it either, because it's just exiling the spells. So it really is the final word, unless you've got something like a defense grid. That could be an option here. I think I quite like defense grid as an option. I think that would make some amount of sense, because sometimes our disruption isn't very good, but obviously we need a density of black spells to put into Chrome Mox. But if we had maybe more soul lands, might be worth doing. So maybe trim on Chrome Mox, have some soul lands and run some defense grids. They help out with Metalcraft for the Mox Opal. They give us something to sacrifice to Deadly Dispute. They mean that we're not going to get Mindbreak trapped. Maybe I'm just having bad beats because I got smashed up by Mindbreak Trap a few times. We also had that game against Doomsday where we were 1 mana shy of winning. Twice, actually, really. So the margins we lost by were very, very slim for the most part. But sometimes it was just getting us donked a bit, if I'm being perfectly honest. The Brainstone, I kind of get why it's there. Like, sometimes your hand will need fixing. But it never felt like we were getting to the point where there's a saga to fetch this. But obviously, I've played a very small subset of games here, and this is, you know, a brand new deck list that isn't completely finely tuned yet at all. But my suggestions as someone who plays Painter but doesn't really play Storm is that maybe we need some defense grids here. Like, I watch a lot of Brian Cook's channel, so I'm no stranger to watching people play Storm, and defense grid always looks pretty good when I see him jamming things like the Epic Gamble and stuff. So maybe that's a thing that we're interested in, especially since all of our Thought Seeds and stuff are going to look bad if someone's playing Leyline of Sanctity, because both of our win conditions are Leyline of Sanctity. So maybe we need something to get around that aside from Feed the Swarm, like just a different win condition. But I don't know what you'd have here. I was also thinking, if you've got 4 Leylines in your sideboard, it feels like maybe you could run a single Helm of Obedience there. It does a similar thing to all these things, so maybe that's a bit not necessary. But we've got all these tutors, so maybe that's a thing we could do, especially if we want to up the soul land count in the deck, which I think we probably do. I think I quite like a 3rd Ancient Tomb in this deck. Sorry, a 4th Ancient Tomb in this deck. I think that would kind of help a little bit, because like our main combo is colourless anyway, and we've got the colourless Desperate Ritual here too. But yeah, I quite enjoy the deck, but I will say it is quite difficult to sort of paste together what a good hand looks like sometimes. Like, when you have a hand that's sort of 50-50, it can sometimes be difficult, and there might have been hands that I threw back that I shouldn't have thrown back, to be honest, because this deck is quite wild, and I really like what's going on here, and this is a deck that I've been trying to build myself. I think my version is a little bit different to this and not as good. This feels a little bit cleaner than what I was working with. It's not a million miles away. The mana base is definitely a big step up from what I was working with, I think. But I would like an additional soul land. I don't think I've got too much more to say about this, but it seems pretty good. And I know that Tony Scapone has been running it and doing... He got a trophy with it, and he also did... 4-1 at least 2/4 I think he's done with it now. So the deck's got legs for sure. Obviously, with someone like Tony Scapone, who's very good at playing Storm decks, I'm not surprised that he's, you know, getting more edges than I'm getting on this deck, because I think I would need a lot of reps with this deck to get better. But I think it is a deck that is definitely has legs, and in a few iterations time, I think it could be an actual competitor in like top tables. You know, like the Epic Gamble, where you think, okay, this is a real deck, and if it wins a tournament, you're not surprised. Like, okay, yeah, this is a good deck. I think this has the legs to go that way, with a bit more work in it and getting a bit more practice with the deck. The sideboard, the Peer into the Abyss feels quite expensive to cast, and we're not a Cabal Ritual deck either. I'm surprised we don't have Cabal Ritual in some ways, because it does make a lot of mana. You know, we're not shuffling our graveyard away, so we are a deck that can maybe benefit from the addition. So when I was running, the list I had Cabal Rituals instead of Monoliths, the one I was working on, because I wanted more black cards, and also I wanted the ability to get more than +1 mana. And sometimes Cabal Ritual can do that, and I figured because we're not doing Echo of Eons, maybe that's okay. But yeah, I think this has got a lot going on with it. Some of our sideboard tools, because we're mono black, don't feel the best, like Feed the Swarm, Fatal Push. I'm not sure, like Fatal Push is fine. Maybe something like Massacre would also be worth, but obviously we need the Fatal Push for things like Collector Roof. So maybe it's just the best way of doing it. Empty the Warrens. I bought it in a few times. We don't have a lot of red sources. We've got the Mox Opals and the Lotus Petals, which should probably be enough if you're doing like an ad nauseum, but it means your hand, because we have a lot of colorless sources, I was kind of using the Mox Opals for like the Dark Rituals or the Tutors, so it felt quite difficult to visualize a situation where Empty the Warrens is actually going to be a good card, especially since it's a one-of. I guess we're just tutoring for it when we have that situation, but it means we can draw this card that's pretty dead. And usually when we're tutoring for this, we can probably tutor for something better a lot of the time, because we need quite a lot of mana to tutor for this with our, you know, our 2 mana and 3 mana tutors here. So I think there's some work to be done on this deck, but I think it definitely has potential. And if you're a better player than me at Storm, you're going to have a better time with it, because it does play more like a Storm deck than a Painter deck. I think like some of the Paintery hands that I had, I felt pretty confident in how to play those and get timings going. I did make a mistake in one round when I miscounted, but it happens to the best of us. All right, I think that's me done for today. So if I could just say, please subscribe to my channel. Likes and comments are also welcome, but I need subscribers so I can hopefully break the 1,000 subscriber threshold in the new year. That's what I'm going for, and I need your help to do that. And it doesn't cost you anything, so why wouldn't you do that? You get to see all my legacy content. I do 5 leagues a week, so why not stop on by? All right, thank you for watching, and goodbye.